Labdien, or Labvakar, either or. Salutations, welcome in or back to Theseus. Ships of Fools. Today's goal is simple. Acquire methane, figure out how to traverse the ocean, and see if we can't get a diesel engine to run off spit, hopes, and the burnt coconut I have piling up, and a little bit more. So what's the situation? Confused? My body is numb, the nutrients keep spoiling, as does the product, but somehow I make coconut oil. Overall, situation is normal. General. I construct a boat. However, I do not have the means to fuel said boat, which requires barreled fuel, which puts into question if I'm just sticking a pipe into the barrels and letting the machine slurp it down like a milkshake. Thankfully, however, coconut oil comes in handy because it is our first biodiesel light. Given the name of coconut oil, it is a type of fuel oil, so the engine can use that to power itself. Though if you think I'm going to make this base functional coconut oil, you are delusional, because we have much better fuel options. That and coconut oil is a necessary ingredient for far more powerful fuels. That and I am limited by space. Again. So, if I'm not going to use coconuts, what kind of fuel are we going to ruthlessly extract and pollute the natural environment with? Methane and titanium sludge. Mostly methane, but titanium sludge can act as a backup. Actually no, though unfortunately, methane is a fluid. Treated like a fluid, mind you. It is in fact a gas. Or is it? That is our oil derivative, in terms of how we acquire it, that is. Meaning that, depending on map generation, it is either really close or ridiculously far. I'm on basic settings, not even a Railworld preset, and I rolled unlucky. As you can clearly see from my rampant sailing and uncovering the map, also say hello to the minimap and say goodbye to it because aside from navigation, I keep it turned off in Space Age for a very good reason that'll come up later. Now, after an hour of searching, which is not a joke or hyperbole, I finally find my methane deposit. Downside, it is only 3 wells, and is near a copper spitter nest. Now I'm trapped between a rock and a hard place, but I'll get to that just now. The question then becomes, how do we extract and then transport said methane? That requires another boat, because Pelagos's gimmick, that is a negative word, mind you, is that instead of trains, we have boats, which act like trains. Now that I've said that, I am embarrassed and horrified at the prospect of being forced to learn how to make a rail system by myself. Thankfully, those copper spitters mean I can delay the inevitable, for now. What else is new? I'm deconstructing the base to rebuild it slightly better. No, I will have to destruct it again. Such is life in this starter base. Now this is the part where I go on some form of diatribe and try to sound smart, whilst the footage plays out and portrays the opposite. But the problem with gleving out is that it requires, the parts and tools to do so. And I still don't have that, so let's just... There we go. Half of it is established and... Oh, I forgot to leave an input bell. Spaghetti, I call upon you to gift me a modicum of strength. This is a barely constructed starter base I'm going up against. And just like that, bada bing, the system is ready, and before you ask, it will implode. The basic gist is that it goes right. So, nutrients at the front, processing in the middle, end products at the end. This isn't optional, still don't have the tools. It works about 74% of the time, so it'll do, and if it works, it isn't stupid. Thus is the engineering principle. The whole basis of the design is the Gleva Classic. The looping belt, though in this case some of the product is split off by the aptly named splitters. In this case, spoilage to generate a smidgen of steam. Husks and overflow as well to make more steam. And in this, coconut oil is produced a little bit, and that feeds a diesel mining drill. You'll notice that we do not have electricity. Well, I technically do, but I don't want to use it. Not for some kind of challenge, but rather the amount of power-consuming buildings doesn't justify the cost of a steam engine. Oh yes, sealant is also produced, and one of the few recipes to help keep loops in perpetuity is nutrient spoiling, which is somewhat of a ridiculous recipe because the nutrients spoil fast enough as is, so this is an anti-deadlock recipe. Which is interesting to me, because it leaves a question as to how I'm going to deal with more. The reason I wish to diesel engine everything is, well, it's faster. Fluids transmit instantly in 2.0. Try not to think about the dynamics of that, but it's faster. To compare, the diesel agricultural tower can plant more, can plant in even more space, and harvest just as fast. So that leaves space, ignoring the belts feeding the seed in and out. The pipes won't take up too much space, and the diesel inserters only need one tile of space. Oh, apologies, I got lost in the liquids. I'm very excited. Here is how the excavator works. Barrels fuel in, an area marked for excavation using spoilage. No, I am not joking. And over time, it'll throw stone onto a belt. Or in this case, chest. Concrete, you normal recipe, you. Iron, stone, bricks, and water. Granted, the diesel assembler is anything but normal, but considering other ventures, this is terrific. If you are wondering the situation on Gumus, the natives have taken issue with the noise pollution left about and have taken it upon themselves to silence all those horrid machines making a racket. Joke's on them, I have video evidence and the slaughter will be broadcast all across RFKT. No one damages company property but me, and I shall turn them into sport. Here is the building which extracts methane, the aptly named offshore pump jack or oil rig, even though it doesn't harvest oil yet. You get the idea. Ignore the fermentation trigger technology, we get there when we get there. What's the problem with the offshore site? Well, it feeds on the vein itself, but the vein is infinite. But it will lose yield over time, i.e. the richness of the fluids. But it'll level out at some point, but that's multiple hours in, far beyond this video's time length and my gameplay length, so we don't have to worry about that. For now. No, the rig powers itself with all the necessary equipment with electricity from the fuel it extracts. Wait a minute. Why is this bad? The natives on Pelagos hate electricity and are rather perturbed by electrical waves. Remember earlier when I said that a nest is right nearby? Now, I have a choice to make all methane to kill the bugs, or only some and manage pollution for a smidge whilst I create bullets from metal instead of wood. I choose caution, which is surprising for me. Thankfully, diesel-powered inserters can transport the methane without a hitch, and it's instant, to repeat myself, so this barreling machine will both keep things running and processing. It also has a 30 megajoule fuel value instead of 15, so that's some longer-lasting fuel. Very nice. Though the Factorio experience may ask, where is the oil tankers? Certainly such a colossal beast is better suited for this job. First off, you are thinking far into the future with ridiculous production rates that will justify such a slow but steady behemoth. Making Yamato to transfer 10 barrels of fluid is not a smart idea. Second, the boats need refueling with barrels, so they can somewhat leach off the top for their fuel reserves. However, it is insert sensitive. This will come into effect later, but thankfully setting up this small rig is just a few pipes, some inserters, and just like that, it'll function. Though the problem then becomes, how do I plot a normal and functional route for an automatic boat? I realize that the tool gifted to me, free railways in this case, waterways, need additional space because, despite the name, the waterway behaves like a railway. So too do the boats behave like trains. Because what is a boat if not a water train? Though I remember I can set conditions, and so I make a quick toggle for the oil rig to shut off at 10,000 methane. It is a preventative measure, but over time the electromagnetics will gather enough to trigger an attack. Still, it's better than nothing. To further expand on the insert-sensitive thing, see, the boat has two inventories, the fuel and cargo. For a regular train, the close proximity to the train helps ease that understanding because it has a front cargo separate. But with boats, they aren't like that, so the back of the boat is the cargo and the front is the engine, i.e. the fuel part. If I park or stop the boat wrong, the inserters will steal all the boat's fuel, and then at random, I'll get a drained fuel warning and probably 2 boats crashing at Mach speed, and that'll just be a nuisance. As such, I need to make 2 stops. One for drop-off, another to refuel. The automation is scuffed, but as per the ruling of a starter base, I am exempt from any criticism because the base is so poor I can't even afford the hint of a proper design. All of this is simply the progression needed in order to decorate. Unlike Minecraft, I don't have to worry about going up and down stairs. Despite everything I said in regards to referencing Yamato, curiosity gets the better of me, and whilst it has an inventory size rivaling the size of Korea, it is slow and meant for bulk transportation, meaning it is useless for now. I comprehend a refueling station. I then go and check up on the waterway. However, given the consistent feeding, I place a singular gun turret with wood darts. That ought to teach them Morocco's copper spitters to leave my oil rig alone. After that, we watch Willie make his first trek back to the deposit point, and I immediately see an issue. The deposit point gets the fuel yoinked. This ends how you think. But to answer a question for those unfamiliar with Factorio, no, you cannot put a train stop on a curved line. I will also use train and boat interchangeably. Get used to it. The fix is simple. Move the inserters down. I also use certain conditions to steal some methane barrels to sit on a belt, and then hide it in the chest. Only 10, but it'll keep the boat topped up and continuously running. The storage tanks add up to 100k of fluid, so that's a pretty good buffer. A small yet dependable-ish starter base. The problem with trains is that they are simple yet complex, so it becomes a lightning rod of knowledge burst and then dementia. Automating trains after 350 hours of belts only has me shambling and rattling. I forgot, man. I forgot. I had to fix the inserters again. It really is just like that. More biochambers, more methane. I set a certain condition to burn away coconuts in something special. Unfortunately, that's for later. Anywho, what's Pelagos's cool and novel form of space-age building? The calciner, which is just a large steel furnace that can be fed liquid fuel, or in this case, gas. It has specific smelting recipes to make coal, carbon, and calcite, which I will need varying degrees of coming up. Another look at the base, I need to tear it down to make better coconut farms, so that it functions at 76%. Though for that, I hunger for sand. Excavating my home I go. Unfortunately, the deep sea exists, which means that I'll need foundation for a larger base. What is foundation? It's a fancier landfill. Problem that it is locked behind the second to last planet, so I have to play Tetris. Joyous. This is the plan. Yes, alcoholic intoxication is not limited to living beings. We need to expand DUI to space. See, it'll keep the AI from evolving too bad due to the, rampant alcoholism. Sludge is pumping, and with it titanium and the prospect of getting off this planet. Of course, I am hampered and rot science needs to be comprehended first, alongside mass carbon production. Is what I would say, but Diesel Dragon requires the aptly named Diesel, which is shorthand for I need to go back to Legumus to get wood and steam science. Why is that? Simple, planetary research, but that is for much later. The heating tower, as per its name, burns and makes heat. It is a disposal tool you will see used a lot. The good thing about diesel machines is that they work fast and on occasion have larger working zones. Take the agricultural tower, as said before, better than the burner and electric, but with the consequence of needing fuel, which is in no short supply. It also makes other diesel inserters easy to place, though the belts leave something to be desired. I need to fix that. I flirt with the idea in limiting nutrients for power. It doesn't work. Moving on. This is a consistent theme, you'll see repeated, but my Gleba factory designs wholly function off the one nutrient belt idea. It's a poor design choice, I admit it, but I like how it looks, so I'll dig my grave with glee. The basic idea is production, nutrient propagation, other products, and then random assemblers to catch the spoilage and keep the system running. Thus, the belt loops, and repeats the process. Why is it poor? Because belt speed is an important factor and the one nutrient belt assumes, at least to me, that you have 45 items per second. Moving on the belt because this ensures a sliver of nutrients escapes the biochambers, hence why I want to limit insertion for their fuel. And this brings back spoilage. See, each biological object that we harvest has a freshness value. Freshness dictates the freshness of whatever product I harvest or make. Ergo, we want the freshest product for our other freshest product. Confusing, I know. However, nutrients are a needed ingredient in many biological recipes, as well as fuel. They spoil in 5 minutes, creating spoilage. Spoilage can be recycled into half-spoiled nutrients, ensuring the system can run in some perpetuity. The only problem is deadlocking. If anything fails, the whole organ fails. If you have gone through the eggs of gleba and left with a sour taste in your mouth, you were trying to make a factory and not thinking like the brain. It is not that clear. I love gleba. It is my favorite planet, and everyone who doesn't like it is weak-willed and not gleb-pilled. The cowardly Vulcanites and holding for Gorons fail to understand the majesty of my bioorganic haven. My appendix now grabs hold of whatever I choose, and I am a proud CEO with layers upon my skin. The sun shines, ever so hateful. Oh, Legumus is being nibbled on. Well, it is what it is. Despite the coconut husks being needed for sealant, they are also the ingredient for coal. Wait, that isn't an issue, it's an upside. Oh, I see. I am belt throughput limited somewhat. Ah, something was fishy. If you thought the nutrients stank before, just wait until I shake them in a mixer with some methane. Instead of 50%, this bad boy makes a climb to a whopping 60% from just raw spoilage. Downside, it needs a biochamber to do so, as well as methane. So, like most recipes in many mod packs, we will use it later. What a nice little block. It is too small. I flirt with nutrient limiting, again. I realize the stupidity in that, again. Distraction hits as the fuel ship had its barrels of methane ripped out from the engine room by the treacherous inserters, of which I discover my idiocy as I set the circle logic up incorrectly, but fixed it. Be, matey. Take your damnable green gas and be gone with you, foolish ship. Remember what I said about the block being small? No matter the size, length is ultimately the king. Not how you use it. But at least the length of these bots is incredible. I feel at peace knowing this small bit of quality of life is here. I will miss it dearly when I get around to Crastorio exploration. I do apologize for the nighttime footage, not much I can do. Rest assured, I am rushing for night vision at the earliest point I can, because seeing is vital. And here is my heating tower. The job, burning. Burning what? Everything. Because everything burns. Coconut meat. No, you cannot eat charred coconut meat. We need to prepare that for the impending winter. And it'll be sawdust soup if you ask again. And if you can't tell, the setting up of if X amount, burn Y until no longer X amount. Circuit condition will be a consistent friend, much like rum, which should mean the same thing to you. Hi-ho, it's off lumbering we go. I double-check wooden platforms to check what I can build on them. To give you the answer, not much. It is limited. I can't put in undergrounds or of either pipes and belts, so these platforms are a logistical nightmare. Hence the Pelagosian standard of boats. But then space becomes an issue. What a wonderful cube of rubrics. It is also amusing that the flamethrower can be placed on them. Ignoring that they'll burn away the foundation they are set upon, many things on the water planet, understandably, are not flammable. Flame turrets are solely for Navis. You will understand later, or inherently have the genetic memory already preloaded. Me, automating the buildings necessary needed for further automation? Pinch me, I must not be real. The planetary map is here for you to peruse, and yes, that is 12 planets. Technically 10 because 2 of them, Legumus and Ceres, are moons, but I shall refer to them as planets to spite you, astrophysicist and stargazer. Look at that, seed disposal. Did you know seeds possess a high megajoule value? Personally, I believe I am annihilating the latent souls, but it's probably the nutrients. Make no mistake, handcrafting continues and my morale improves, but thankfully, the calciner's 50% productivity reduces the load. My plans require a moderate amount of copper. I pillage the local ecology for it. I discover a grandiose island that will house 3 of my ingredients to get off this planet. The dull drum of copper smelting, 1 fish for 4.5 calcite. That's a fanciful conversion rate. Iron automated and belting away, steel sectioned and beamed to the chest. An overall review of the island's shape. Much as the wood belts were funny, it's time to graduate to metal, which offer no real improvements, save that they are yellow. Awaken, methane-fueled beasts of agriculture, and construct me coconuts. Obligatory, I messed up the belts, and now wood and coconuts are locked together in marriage. Sadly, divorce is sped up in space. As such, the children are thrown into the orphanage. Yes, that is shaped, suspiciously, like a burner. And to wrap things up, a little preview of the base running. Look at it, lugging and limping along to life with its organs beating and thumping. It almost makes you think it's sentient. But, alas, time is short, my budget non-existent. Feel free to do whatever it is you people do with the buttons on this website and engage in safety inspections of them. I shall return, you will vanish to the ether. But if this is your first time or last time here, I thank you for the patronage, even if you are not on Patreon. As always, scheme, plot, and devise a fate for whatever it is you choose to peruse in the Linktree. Keep up with my machinations via the Discord. It's free to enter. If all you want is notifications, a role exists to give you content updates within it, for that sole purpose. The other social sites required of me are there too. I don't much care for them, but what I do care for is the web novel. Though she is short, rest assured, it too is mentioned, and you can read it on Wattpad and the Patreon. It's also free. Alright, I've run out of fanciful language. Go away.